Chapter 14. 8 Vine Emperor. Academic Transition from Humanities to Science. No wonder the handwriting is so neat, it's even better looking than print. The physics teacher had just been preparing for class and hadn't heard the conversation between Lu Lingxi and Bai Lian. It looks even more pleasant than Ren Wongshuan's test papers. He also found it strange that the transfer student had switched from humanities to science. Although the test itself was simple, covering mostly basic knowledge, and she didn't do many of the major questions. In fact, whenever she did answer, everything was correct, especially in physics. She used authentic Guanj style. As a language arts teacher, Lu Lingxi did consider her to be a good student, with handwriting so well behaved. In the past, scholars who took the imperial examinations would use this type of font. Previous top scholars knew several styles of calligraphy, but would all use Guanj style during the palace examination. Lu Lingxi had never considered that Bai Lian knew several styles of handwriting. Nowadays, it was remarkable for young kids to learn even one style properly. But now very few people learn Guanj style anymore, as they prefer Liang style. Lu teacher, don't worry too much. The physics teacher unscrewed the teacup. Since she wants to study science, she'll definitely be diligent. Don't look at her score of just 85 now. I see that she's not completely lacking in insight. Just you watch. By next year's college entrance exam, she should be able to raise her score to 170, and with some effort, reaching the second tier of universities is quite possible. He decided to pay more attention to this transfer student. Of course, they did not know. Making the transition from humanities to science, scoring 85 on a test of moderate difficulty, indeed also indicated some talent. In their minds, the biggest challenge for Bai Lian would just be the transition from humanities to science, as it was already difficult enough to score well legitimately, let alone considering that these 85 points were entirely the result of 5 days of study by Bai Lian. And as for the many questions she hadn't answered, it was simply because she hadn't started learning that material yet. Bai Lian, relying on her own efforts, had carved out a territory for herself on the Ziyingcheng Middle School Forum. Today, of 10 posts on the No. 1 middle school's board, 8 are about Bai Lian, the Empress. Bai Lian herself was not aware of these discussions. Although she was good-looking, she emanated an aura that made her difficult to approach. Like her deskmate Yang Lin, she was either reading or solving problems, appearing very much like a top student. Carrying the aura of a top student naturally, other students didn't dare to strike up a conversation. After school in the afternoon, Bai Lian had just been measured for size. Her school uniform would not be issued for another 2 days. Among the sea of uniforms, she was the only one in her own clothes, a bit taller than the average girl, clean and strikingly beautiful, standing out like a crane amongst chickens. Jiang He was squatting on the street corner opposite, and he spotted Bai Lian, shining brightly amidst the crowd in a glance. "Why are you alone?" Bai Lian didn't see the others who had been following Jiang He around, so she took him to the milk tea shop around the corner. "My brother is picking me up later." The milk tea shop was crowded just after school let out, but they waited a few minutes for people to leave. Bai Lian found a quiet table and sat down with Jiang He. "Bai student," the clerk served Bai Lian 2 cups of cherry fruit tea. "Your milk tea is ready. Straws are on the left, help yourself." Bai Lian recognized that this was her deskmate, Yang Lin. Bai Lian looked at the milk tea, which clearly had more fruit pieces than others, and smiled with her eyes, the expression shining and vibrant. "Thank you." She took out 2 straws, while Yu Guang noticed that Yang Lin's exposed arm seemed to have a purple bruise. "What's that?" Bai Lian took her eyes off it and went back to handing Jiang He his milk tea. The other person took out a colorful spherical object. Jiang He took a sip lightly, a 7-layered, 5-colored magic cube. He had already managed to restore the center colors but was not familiar with the rest. Last night, after watching Jiang Fulai's speed cubbing restoration formulas, he was trying hard to replicate them. Bai Lian opened her backpack and took out a large lump, having never seen a Rubik's Cube before. "Are you restoring the colors of this sphere?" Jiang He nodded, discontent with his own speed. "My brother can solve it very quickly, but I need 2 hours. A guy who had just come in with a basketball spat out his lemon tea. "No way, little bro." The guy spun on his foot and turned sideways, wearing the school uniform, his features handsome and sunny, and kindly suggested to him in a heartfelt tone, "Don't talk about it so calmly. Have some sympathy for the average high school student." Jiang He glanced at him and said nothing. "Boy, what's with that look?" "What look?" "Hey," the boy got choked up for a moment but then greeted Bai Lian, introducing himself. "Bai classmate, I am your." Zhang Shi's. Bai Lian recognized him. He was the guy who sat behind her. She had remembered everyone who introduced themselves to her. Zhang Shi scratched his head. "Oh, so you did hear us talking. Luma said that if you ever need anything, just ask me. I'm the sports committee member." They called Lu Lingxi Luma in their class. As Zhang Shi's was talking, he saw the object that Bai Lian took out. It looked like a motor. Bai Lian inserted the straw with one hand and played with the coils of the motor with the other. "What's wrong?" Zhang Shi's. "Who carries this kind of stuff in their backpack?" He said goodbye to Bai Lian with an incredulous face and left the milk tea shop. The group of boys waiting for him outside asked if he got the new transfer student's contact info, implying that the new student was so pretty that they could only admire her from afar. "I'll ask tomorrow." Zhang Shi's put his arm around his buddy's shoulder, exclaiming with a sense of brotherhood, "With you guys in the world, I can rest easy." The brothers were just about to be moved. Zhang Shi's. "Hee, it's great to have more than one useless person." As darkness gradually fell at the school gate, students who had been staying late for the honor student training had just finished their classes. Ren Wongshuan was picked up and dropped off by a personal driver every day. She was on the phone with the driver. "I've finished my tutoring class, come to." Her eyes caught sight of a girl sitting under the streetlight at the corner of the crossroad, apparently waiting for something. How come she kept running into Bai Lian at this huge school? Could it really be such a coincidence? Ren Wongshuan suddenly felt an irritation. Observing the other's silhouette, she pondered for a while and then instructed her driver, "Take the car to the back gate. I'll wait for you there." "What's wrong?" the boy next to her asked her. "Nothing." Ren Wongshuan shook her head, not wanting to mention Bai Lian at all. "Let's go to the back gate." She turned coldly, re-entering through the school gate. The boy, after a thoughtful nod, glanced faintly at the corner of the crossroad and said, "Then I'll have my driver wait for me at the back gate as well." Meanwhile at the crossroad. "When is your brother coming?" Bai Lian sat beside Jiang He by the roadside, watching the passing traffic. The streetlights lit up one by one. Jiang He reluctantly lit up his watch. "Another 10 minutes. "Okay." Bai Lian leaned lazily against the lamp post, taking out the coils again to play with. When Jiang Fulai came to pick up Jiang He, what he saw was this scene. The girl sat casually by the roadside. Her ink-black hair was casually held up by a brown wooden hairpin. She elegantly manipulated the motor in her hands, making the rough motor seem more like a piece of art. Her facial features were strikingly attractive, and her droopy eyes conveyed a lazy demeanor. For a moment, it was as if the moonlight too favored her, casting a hazy glow as if moisturized by the moon's radiance. Suddenly, he thought of a phrase. Tender yet lethal. Dusk descended on the long street, which monopolized 7 shades of the moonlight. "I kept you waiting." Jiang Fulai came back to his senses. He suppressed his gaze and introduced himself to Bai Lian. "Hello, Bai Lian. I am Jiang He's brother, Jiang Fulai." He stepped out of the car enveloped in a cold frost, his voice slightly lowered, naturally chilly. Bai Lian looked up and inadvertently collided with a pair of light-colored eyes that reflected no light like a cold pool. Deep and cold. She glanced at Jiang Fulai, who wore a black shirt. His face was stunningly cold, his slightly lighter hair blending with the light. Their first gaze, or perhaps another glance. It was surely quiet and lonely. Yet it felt deafening. After a moment, Bai Lian slowly spoke. "Give me a reason not to shark you." Jiang Fulai rarely showed his true emotions in front of others. This was the first time he was caught off guard in public. Jiang He looked up, contemptuous. "Her name is Bai Lian." Jiang Fulai. "Firstly, do you want to see what you noted down?" "Sorry." Realizing what had happened, Jiang Fulai lightly chuckled. A rare smile tinged his usually indifferent and ice-cold phoenix eyes. Jiang He is sensitive to numbers, but he never went to kindergarten, so. He paused, then simply assessed. He is semi-illiterate. Bai Lian swept a cold glance toward Jiang He. Jiang He, who had an autism spectrum disorder and exhibited extraordinary intelligence only in numbers and geometry. Expressionless, he withdrew his gaze and fluidly covered his wristwatch. "Is that from a fan you dismantled?" Jiang Fulai's other hand held a book, rolled up like a tube, as he squatted beside Bai Lian and casually took her electric motor, looking down with serious attention. "It's probably a capacitor issue. Use a multimeter to check which wire has no resistance and fix it." It was a hand like an artwork, with the glossy white of jade, long joints and lines that flowed between proportion and smoothness, exuding a faint, crisp air. Multimeter. Bai Lian withdrew her death stare from Jiang He and rested her chin on her knees, tilting her head lazily. "I thought about buying one, but my grandfather wouldn't let me dismantle the house. I stole this one from his room." There was no other emotion on her face, her black pupils reflecting the streetlight above, lazy and beautiful. She just wanted to stealthily dismantle an electric fan. One could imagine her cutely stealing and dismantling her family's things, and perhaps the elder would helplessly indulge her, turning a blind eye. "I have one, I'll bring it to you in a few days." The mere thought of the scene made Jiang Fulai feel like a big cat was stretching out lazily to scratch him. "I have a physics lab. It's well equipped for experiments, very convenient." Jiang He rarely felt close to people, even going silent for 7 days at a time. Bai Lian was a peculiar existence to Jiang He. Now seeing her in the flesh, he thought he might understand why Jiang He wanted to go home with her. Bai Lian blinked. A large lab, there must be a particle collider there. The glances from the people around grew more intense. Jiang Fulai casually picked up Jiang He by his collar and stood up. "Get in the car first. I'll drive you home." There were few streetlights on Purist Street. Bai Lian had Jiang Fulai's car stop at the intersection. "This is the book you wanted." Jiang Fulai got out of the car with her and handed her the book in his hand. In the twilight, his eyes and brows seemed to soften as if steeped in ice and snow. "Physics is not difficult, it's interesting. You can ask me if you have any questions." "Thank you." Bai Lian took the book. This was a book that she couldn't find anywhere. "I should be thanking you." Jiang Fulai looked towards Jiang He and said softly. "Jiang He always thinks he's an alien, wanting to return to his own planet. You're his first human friend." But Bai Lian simply said, "He's cute." Jiang Fulai turned to look at her for a moment and chuckled lightly. "Yeah." Bai Lian waved at him and left. Jiang Fulai watched her enter a small store, with a police patrol not far away. His slightly furrowed brow relaxed a little as he got back into the car. "This place hasn't been demolished." Ming Dingheng sat in the driver's seat, surprised at the sight of the low and somewhat aged buildings. Right across from it is Bacter Street, where my master is. Bacter Street was where Ming Dingheng often went, a street at the border of two countries. He just hadn't expected that Bacter Street and Purist Street were only a kilometer apart, facing each other across the river. Jiang Fulai looked at the lone few streetlights, slowly rolling up the car window. "Let's go back." Ming Dingheng drove off, and Jiang He leaned by the car window, watching Bai Lian. Jiang Fulai's fingertips lightly tapped the phone screen, and in the dark night, his brows and eyes seemed to be coated with a faint layer of cold frost. After a while, he lit up the screen to send a message. "Go to the storeroom and find my physics notes." The convenience store. Two patrol officers came to buy 2 bottles of water and chatted with the store manager as if they were catching up on family news. The store manager answered, puzzled. Today, before leaving, Bai Lian had asked the store manager to bring her some electric cables. The manager handed them to her, along with a lollipop, covering the QR code and refusing to let her transfer the money. "Hurry back home, it's already dark." "Oh," Bai Lian put away the cables. The patrol officers didn't find out anything and left to finish their shift. Once they were gone, a neighbor dared to come over. "What did you do? Went across the river to steal something. Why are the police always watching you?" "But I am a law-abiding citizen." The store manager opened his mouth in grievance. He was also confused. "I can't figure out what I've done wrong." Sucking on the lollipop, Bai Lian lowered her pretty eyes and walked innocently into the alley. Just reaching the entrance of the alley, she saw the old man waiting there. It was Jai Heng. Bai Lian hesitated, then quickened her pace. Jai Heng held a flashlight, only turning it on when he saw her, lighting the pitch-dark alley to guide her home. "You can't rush your studies, take it slow." Purist Street had streetlights, but the inner alleys did not. Only the dim yellow light from the homes occasionally flickered. "I won't." Bai Lian took out her earphones, ready to listen to English vocabulary words and rejecting the suggestion. "Jai Heng." Seeing Bai Lian eyeing his flashlight, he warned, "This can't be taken apart." Bai Lian's gaze was a bit elusive. "Am I that kind of person?" "But I woke up this morning to find the corpse of my fan." Jai Heng ruthlessly exposed her. "You just looked at the wrong time, don't believe me. Check again in a few days." Bai Lian stubbornly retorted. Meanwhile, in Xiangcheng's only villa district, the Ren family. Ren Kaiyan, as usual, inquired about Ren Wongshuan's studies and explained about Gao Jiachen's situation. "Dr. Gao has not yet replied. You have to strive at school." Ren Wongshuan nodded, which would normally signal it was time to leave. But today she hesitated. "What's wrong?" Ren Kaiyan was surprised. "It's about the affairs of my dad's family." Ren Wongshuan shared the matter regarding Bai Lian with Ren Kaiyan. Hearing the full story, Ren Kaiyan put down the document in his hand, switching from arts to sciences. Ren Wongshuan wasn't too concerned, but thinking about the other person's science score of only 85, she shook her head. "A composite science score of 85. I don't know why she wants to study science, and Dad even asked me to teach her." "Don't listen to him. He has become increasingly muddled these past 2 years, not knowing the severity." Ren Kaiyan's expression chilled. He valued Ren Wongshuan's academic performance, naturally aware that she had scored a perfect 300 in the science composite. "Doesn't he know how important your studies are?" He hadn't yet met Bai Lian, but he already had a rather poor impression of her. For young people, it's important to be stable and pragmatic. Ren Wongshuan quickly started to rub Ren Kaiyan's shoulders. "Don't be angry. Dad didn't mean to. You know him. He's only focused on his research. He doesn't even remember how old I am." For many years, indeed, the Jai family hadn't taken advantage of the Ren family to cause any trouble. But Ren Kaiyan was not concerned about the Jai family's affairs. He softened his tone, advising Ren Wongshuan. All right, don't worry about the Jai family's matters. Your father is not clear-headed, but you need to be clear about what is truly important. Next year is the college entrance exam. Don't get distracted by other things. After Ren Wongshuan exited, the Secretary General spoke up. Next year's college entrance exam. It's time for someone from Xiangcheng to become the valedictorian. Miss Wongshuan stands a good chance. This class has fierce competition. Just competing with the Chen family in Xiangcheng will be tough for her. Ren Kaiyan knew a bit of the inside story. He shook his head. Let's not talk about being the valedictorian of Baiking. Let's focus on Xiangcheng first. In their eyes, the biggest goal was to be the valedictorian of Baiking. As for the national valedictorian, it was unthinkable. Which year had the national valedictorian not been from Jiangjing? How could it be someone from another place? This is the auction list from White Tiger Auction House for 1 week from now. The Secretary General remembered the official matter. This time, there is an authentic piece by Liang Ziyuan. At that, Ren Kaiyan eagerly reached out for it. An authentic piece by Liang Ziyuan. Liang's style was one of the most popular scripts, not just favored by the common people, but also highly esteemed by the major families and great literati. Therefore, from a young age, Ren Kaiyan made Ren Wongshuan learn Liang's style. Clearly, Ren Wongshuan had made the right move. Ever since she was young, she had won many people's favor with her Liang-style handwriting. Authentic pieces by Liang Ziyuan were rare, with a known authentic piece residing in the private museum of the Chen family in Jiangjing. This genuine piece coming up for auction is bound to attract a crowd from all over the country. No one would doubt its authenticity. After all, it's the largest auction house in Asia, and nobody dares to cause trouble at an auction on Baxter Street. Find a way to get an invitation to the auction, Ren Kaiyan said. The next day, Bai Lian didn't linger in the library because Jiang Fulai had someone send her the multidistor. She planned to go home and show her grandfather what bad timing really meant. Bus 12 came to a stop on Purist Street, and when Bai Lian got off with her black backpack, she saw a crowd gathered around the convenience store from a distance. As Bai Lian approached, the onlookers outside in white tank tops trembled with excitement. With a clatter, a cigarette fell to the ground. Officer Zhang, ask them if I've broken any law. The middle-aged man in black attire said casually, exhaling a ring of smoke while pointing at a vendor selling chilled mung bean jelly. Dare you say I've transgressed? The vendor, in fear, shook his head as he picked up his knocked-over stall. No, I knocked it over myself. Oh, is that so? The middle-aged man took 2 more steps forward, pointing at someone selling hand-carved items. The person sat on the ground, frantically waving their hands in negation. He stepped on an embroidered shoe and finally stopped in front of Jai Heng. How about you? Do you dare? Jai Heng looked at the stall on the ground and shook his head. See, the middle-aged man then leisurely turned to Officer Zhang, his voice arrogant. I told you I haven't done anything, Officer Zhang. You wouldn't arrest a good person, would you? Officer Zhang was about to take action but was firmly restrained by a colleague. Forget it, Officer Zhang. The colleague whispered in Officer Zhang's ear. He must be Poison Scorpion. Officer Zhang calmed down. Poison Scorpion. One of the top 10 on their internal most wanted list. He frequently moves between Baxter Street and the international scene. Many of his men are ex-mercenaries, protected by a bar on Baxter Street, and even the FBI is said to be unable to touch him. His power was immense. Poison Scorpion had long anticipated this scenario. He looked at Officer Zhang with disdain, carelessly dropping his cigarette on the ground and stepping on it. It seems, Officer Zhang, if you desire to catch me, you'll have to find another way. No one present dared to speak. Poison Scorpion then arrogantly left the convenience store with all the cigarettes, and casually left Purist Street. Only after he had left did Officer Zhang silently help the vendors straighten their stalls, whispering an apology to them. The people from the bar on Bacter Street, at the junction between two nations, those people. Without evidence, Officer Zhang truly had no recourse. Even if the Chen family of Xiangcheng was present today, they too would suffer silently. Bai Lian stood not far away, watching the scene with an unperturbed gaze. The man in the white tank top, feeling the chill of her gaze on his back, shivered and quickly set about helping the vendors pick up their goods. Clearly, he was also one of the formidable convention people, and seeing him lending a hand, Officer Zhang gave him a glance, his gaze then shifting to the store owner not far away. As the crowd slowly dispersed, such incidents were not uncommon on Purist Street. Alien, Jai Heng, having tidied up his belongings, saw Bai Lian standing at the street corner. The neighbors liked the trinkets made by Jai Heng, who would set up his stall every few days. Bai Lian usually studied late in the library, so this was the first time she saw him vending. Bai Lian answered calmly, taking Jai Heng's items from his hand. It's all right, grandfather's used to it. Jai Heng spoke more today than usual, holding a tobacco pipe. These things don't happen often. He's from the opposite side and doesn't come here often. You should be more careful when you go out. It's better for ordinary folks like us to avoid provoking them if we can. He comforted Bai Lian. Bai Lian hummed in agreement once more, but the chill in her pitch-black eyes grew colder. Jai Heng was at ease with her. 11 o'clock at night. The lights in Jai Heng's room went out, and in Bai Lian's room, she tightened the last screw on the electric fan. Then, taking her mobile phone, she quietly closed her room door behind her and left. Crossing the bridge at the end of Purist Street, a street stretched out in front of her, resplendent with golden light. Although it was 10 o'clock at night, it was as bright as day. The entrance bore the name in 2 languages. Bacter Street. The man in the white tank top had been waiting here. He looked up to see the girl in the flowing moon-white dress, so out of place in this street. Sis, the man in the white tank top approached, handing Bai Lian a cigarette and lighting it for her. With a slender cigarette grasped between her fingers, Bai Lian appeared utterly nonchalant. As the flame sparked and smoke began to curl up, she lazily tilted her head. Where is he, Qinglong Bar? Near the bridge on Purist Street, it spread out over a wide area. Poison Scorpion was the toughest enforcer at Qinglong Bar. His recklessness had earned him a big name on this street, and most were afraid of him, which meant few dared to cause trouble in the bar. He was just sitting in the lounge inside the bar, biting on a freshly lit cigarette. Bang! The door was flung open. Poison Scorpion glanced up nonchalantly, only to see a white tank top. He stood behind a young woman. Yo Mao Kun. He obviously recognized the man in the white tank top. He called him Mao Kun, but his tone lacked respect. Poison Scorpion stared straight at the girl behind him. Are you here to pay tribute to me? Haha, don't worry, Mao Kun. I'll be sure to speak highly of you to your godfather. The man in the white tank top looked at him, as if seeing a former version of himself. Bai Lian slowly approached. Poison Scorpion hesitated, then with a smile, extended his hand toward Bai Lian. Mao Kun, the person you've brought is pretty. Bang! He, along with the stool, was kicked to the ground, and a bone in his chest broke. Poison Scorpion's eyes turned fierce as he endured the pain and scrambled up, throwing a fierce punch at Bai Lian's face. Bai Lian didn't even move her feet, simply raising her hand leisurely to catch his punch under his astonished gaze. The hem of her moon-white dress fluttered gently. Crack! The sound of finger joints breaking echoed. You want to die? With a bang, he was once again brutally smashed to the ground by Bai Lian. Poison Scorpion had never seen such a twisted scene before, and looked at Bai Lian in terror. The borderlands between two countries were complex, and no one without some abilities could survive there. His skills were quite impressive. In fact, few people knew that even the FBI had been unable to handle him when he was notorious internationally, which was why the bar owner had taken notice of him. As Qinglong Bar's top enforcer, even the #1 fighter in the ring would have a hard time laying a hand on him. Poison Scorpion was breathing more out than in. He lay on the ground, unable to get up. "Have I offended you?" He was clever indeed. To be this arrogant and still alive for so long was because he had only offended nobodies. The girl in front of him, who could crush him as easily as pinching a steamed bun, was certainly no nobody. He had no idea how he had managed to provoke her. Bai Lian still had a slender cigarette pinched between her fingers, and the smoky haze swirled around her face. She walked unhurriedly to Poison Scorpion's side. Wearing gray embroidered shoes with a faint footprint on them. The embroidery was of pink peonies, layered and sumptuous. With the shoe bearing the footprint, she stepped on Poison Scorpion's right hand and asked softly, "Is the embroidery nice? So prim and proper?" Poison Scorpion, who had been so arrogant before, now lay at Bai Lian's feet. Even as every breath caused pain in his chest, he still struggled to wipe the dust from her embroidered shoe. Smiling ingratiatingly, he looked up at her. "Good, very good. The embroidery is excellent." Bai Lian looked down, the shadows cast by her eyelashes hiding the tumult within her eyes. She lifted her foot. "Indeed, it's good." Bang! Another kick. She kicked Poison Scorpion hard in the chest. Poison Scorpion was slammed against the wall. Bai Lian leisurely straightened her sleeves. Withdrawing her gaze, she said coldly, "But it's gotten dirty." The man in the white tank top knelt beside Poison Scorpion, kindly reminding him, "You had to mess with her grandfather's business of all things, and you even asked if the old man dared to. Do you think he dares? Remember to respect your elders and love the young." The bar was deafening with noise. A group of men in black waited at the doorway. The leader, seeing Poison Scorpion paralyzed and gasping against the wall, twitched his mouth. "God, you're asking a vicious man to respect the elderly and love the young." They looked at Bai Lian warily, then told the man in the white tank top, "Mao Kun, the boss wants you in the conference room." "I'll talk to my godfather." The man in the white tank top nodded casually. Bai Lian leaned against the bar, lazily tapping her fingers on the countertop. "Xiaobai." The man in the white tank top immediately stepped forward, pouring her a drink. "Sister, my surname is Mao." "Oh, Xiaomo," Bai Lian nodded sluggishly. "Thanks for today, but I don't drink. I'm heading back." "Sister, won't you stay a little longer?" Bai Lian took out a wooden hairpin, slowly gathered her hair, and her low, soft eyes were languorous. "No, I have class at 8 in the morning tomorrow." "Mao Kun knows Xiaomo." At his side, a younger brother, seeing Bai Lian for the first time, blushed. Xiaomo, upon seeing this, snapped at him, smacking his head hard. "What are you looking at? Huh, what are you staring at? Any ideas you're getting, stuff them back into your mother's womb." Pura Street. The night was dark and the wind was high. Bai Lian took out her earphones to memorize English vocabulary. It was nearly 1 in the morning, and faint sounds of a scuffle were coming from the narrow, dark alley ahead. Ordinary people would have taken a detour. Bai Lian wore her earphones, halfway through her vocabulary listening, when her phone rang. It was Mao Kun. She answered and calmly walked past them. There were 3 men with blonde hair and blue eyes. Because of the girl's excessive calm, they were clearly stunned for a moment. The next second, one of them came to his senses and reached out to grab Bai Lian's neck. Bai Lian tilted her head sideways, grasped the man's hand. Sister, Malkun's voice came through. Bai Lian looked at the blue-eyed man, then glanced down at the person lying in the corner. Wait a moment, she told Malkun, then stuffed her phone back into her pocket. Then she suddenly yanked the blue-eyed man in front of her. The breeze from her punch parted the strands of hair scattered on either side of her, revealing her cool gaze. Bai Lian didn't retreat. With her other hand balled into a fist, she powerfully slammed into another who tried to make a move on her. In less than 3 minutes, 3 men were lying at her feet. Only then did Bai Lian take her phone out of her pocket, leaning lazily against the wall. Speak. Malkun on the other end of the phone wiped his face. There's an auction here in a couple of days. Do you want to come play? No thanks. Bai Lian hung up, her eyelashes drooping down. She put her earphones back on and dug out her English vocabulary list. Hey! The bloodied person lying in the corner spoke to her, shaking as he fetched a pack of cigarettes from his pocket and tried to find a cigarette to bite on. Thank you. Can I have your contact information? Bai Lian glanced down at him. His leg was still bleeding nonstop. Her gaze settled on the gold-framed calligraphy next to him. When the man saw her looking, he moved his right hand but inadvertently triggered a wound, causing him to hiss in pain. Do you want this? It's an original by Liang Ziyuan. It's valuable but not as precious as I am. Take it if you want. As for other requests, I can manage anything as long as you don't ask to live on the moon. Bai Lian, unsure which word moved her, squatted down, flipped on her phone's flashlight, and shone it on the calligraphy beside the man. After a while, Bai Lian's gaze lazily fell on the man's continuously bleeding leg. She slightly lowered her head and reached out to fumble with the man's injured leg. What are you doing? The man was taken aback and quickly said, It's a gunshot wound. My private doctor will be here any moment. Don't touch it randomly. I don't want to be crippled just yet. While he spoke, his leg suddenly stopped bleeding. Even the pain was greatly reduced. Only then did Bai Lian stand up, reopened her English vocabulary page, and started walking back. Hey! The man snapped out of it and saw that she hadn't taken the calligraphy. He couldn't help but call out to her, Don't you want Liang Ziyuan's original work? The girl, who didn't pay him much attention, stopped. The gentle moonlight bathed her as she finished memorizing a word before tilting her head. Who told you this is an original? The man was taken aback. This has been authenticated by experts. The girl took her gaze back, disappearing around the corner. Her voice faded into the night, lonely and vague. Have it authenticated again. That's his student's handwriting. 6 o'clock in the morning. Jai Heng's room. The moment he opened his eyes, he found himself face to face with a figure holding an electric fan. Jai Heng. Bai Lian. After 10 seconds of staring, someone was looking at him with a very righteous expression, as if asking, Why did you wake up so early? Very well. Jai Heng expressionlessly closed his eyes again. Only then did Bai Lian set the electric fan down. She made sure to plug it in. The fan that was previously broken now seemed eager to let everyone know it had been fixed by someone, whirring loudly as it began to spin. She considerately closed the door behind her as she left. Jai Heng opened his eyes again, looking at the window to the early morning sky, cool with an estimated temperature of about 22 degrees. Calmly, he reached out and pulled the half-draped blanket up to his neck. Xiangcheng Middle School starts class at 8 in the morning. Most boarders arrive by 7. Bai Lian wasn't particularly late, arriving at 7:30. Her deskmate must have also arrived early, now clutching an English book and sitting in the front seat, memorizing. And her seat. Bai Lian yawned lazily as she walked up to her spot, tapped the desk and looked down. Classmate, excuse me. The girl sitting in her seat instantly pulled a long face. Shushi. The originally noisy classroom quieted down in an instant. Zhang Shi's, who had been napping on his desk, also lifted his head, bleary-eyed, and came to alertness at the situation. The curly-haired girl didn't even glance at Bai Lian. Noticing Zhang Shi's awake, her eyes lit up as she handed him a bag. "Zhang Shi's, I brought you breakfast." Meanwhile, Yang Lin gently tugged at Bai Lian's sleeve, gesturing with her eyes towards Bai Lian. Zhang Shi's never accepts anything from girls. But now he reached out to take the breakfast. Thank you, Chen Wei, you go ahead, class is about to start." The smile returned to Chen Wei's sullen face. "Then I'll come watch you play basketball tonight." Perhaps in a good mood, Chen Wei hummed a tune as she left class 15. As she passed by, both male and female students shrank their necks in unison. "New student, since you just arrived at our school, let me give you the rundown." The girl in front turned around and heaved a sigh of relief before speaking to Bai Lian. That was Chen Wei from the second year. "Of course, mentioning that might not mean much to you. You know about the school heartthrobs, right? Besides that idiot Zhang Shi's, there's another guy called Chen Zhu." Chen Wei is Chen Zhu's little sister. Chen Zhu is in the elite class 8 of the third year. Got it. The ones who usually hang out with her are the likes of Chen Zhu and Ren Wangxuan. Bai Lian, thank you. So annoying, I want to erase her. In any case, we commoners should avoid provoking anyone from the elite class if we can. Eggs can't compete with stones, the girl finished, then glanced towards Yang Lin and Zhang Shi's. Right, you two. The most important thing is that Chen Zhu and Ren Wangxuan are both hot contenders for the top scholar title of our graduating year in Baikang. Yang Lin said, settling into her seat, and after a thought she added softly, "Try not to offend them." "That's true," Zhang Shi's grumbled discontentedly. "But why did you have to call me, a cheerful and pure-hearted 19-year-old guy, an idiot?" No one paid attention to him. Zhang Shi's then draped an arm around his deskmate's shoulder. "What do you think, top student?" And Xiao looked up and gave him a be-quiet look. Bai Lian propped her chin with a hand, lazily flipping open her English textbook. Zhang Shi's touched his nose and took out his phone to add her as a friend. Today is Friday, after school in the evening. Yang Lin and Bai Lian walked out of the school gates together, with Bai Lian wearing headphones and listening to vocabulary words. They walked to the flower shop at the end of the street. The middle-aged woman selling flowers was enthusiastically wrapping a bouquet for a customer, but when she saw Yang Lin, she squinted and smiled gently. "Your flowers are on the table. I've set them aside for you." While reciting vocabulary, Bai Lian looked over and saw a beautiful white lily on the table. Yang Lin picked up the flower and placed the money on the table. The middle-aged woman finished wrapping the bouquet and, seeing this exchange, shook her head helplessly and then asked, "What about that boy Zhang Shi's?" "He's playing basketball." "Always off playing basketball. Why can't he be more like you and Xiao?" Zhang's mother muttered her complaints, then turned to look at Bai Lian. "Ah, this must be the transfer student in your class. Such a pretty young girl." She pulled out a red rose and gave it to Bai Lian. "She definitely seems much better behaved than my troublesome son." Bai Lian accepted it. "Thank you, Auntie." "Ah," Zhang's mother clutched her chest. "I knew it, I should have had a daughter. That darned Zhang Shi's can only manage to kill my orchids." Don't be mad. The middle-aged man, who had just come back from outside, put down his computer bag and continuously consoled her. "Tonight, we'll pretend to fight and isolate ourselves in our room, making him do all the household chores for a week." Carrying a rose, Bai Lian took separate ways from Yang Lin at the intersection. Following the address given by Jianghe, she arrived at the wealthy district of Xiancheng. The public bus only went as far as the road on the outer perimeter. Ren Wangxuan hadn't attended today's top student training because there were important guests coming to her house, and Ren Kian had notified her in advance. As she passed by the periphery of the wealthy district, her gaze caught a person not far off. "Stop the car." The boy in the front seat casually glanced at the rearview mirror. "What's wrong?" Ren Wongshuan shook her head without saying a word. Swoosh. The car stopped in front of Bai Lian. The window rolled down, revealing Ren Wongshuan's face brimming with irritation. She looked at Bai Lian with a mocking expression as if she had already seen through her. "What are you waiting for here?" Bai Lian held her cell phone and sent a message telling Jiang He not to hurry. She was still in a moon-white long dress, her eyes clear and tranquil, reciting vocabulary in a calm and unruffled manner. Upon hearing a voice, she looked up, "Waiting for your ancestor." No matter whether it was at school, at the Ren family home, or anywhere else, Ren Wongshuan was always the center of attention, always pampered and worshipped by everyone. Even Chen Wei had to make some superficial effort in front of her. As for the Jai family, even though she was very polite to Jai Heng, deep down she still looked down on the Jai family members. Ren Wongshuan looked at the long dress on Bai Lian, plain and unadorned, without any logo, clearly something made casually by Jai Heng. In her eyes, Bai Lian was indeed the least noticeable among them. When encountering her, one should at least be cautious and respectful, not so arrogant. But she didn't expect that someone she least cared about would speak to her so rudely. The driver in the car couldn't help but take another look at Bai Lian, and Ren Wongshuan noticed that the boys nearby were also looking their way. She was shocked that Bai Lian dared to speak to her like that. "What? What are you talking about?" "Can't hear clearly." Bai Lian, looking at the next word, said indifferently, "Then I can carve it on your tombstone." The driver wished he could cover his ears, trying hard to pretend he didn't hear anything. But Ren Wongshuan, with her sense of entitlement, didn't get out of the car, only haughtily rolled down the window, so everyone in the car could hear Bai Lian's words. Even if the driver showed no reaction, Ren Wongshuan still felt that everything about her was being challenged by Bai Lian at this moment. She was rendered speechless by the retort, and only managed to pull at her lips before angrily rolling up the window and demanding, "Aren't we leaving yet?" The car started. The boy in the front seat glanced at Bai Lian by the roadside through the rearview mirror. The look was as if he were observing a leaf, only for a moment before he withdrew his gaze. "You know her." Ren Wongshuan's voice was cold with disdain. "Who knows which relative from the Jai family that is?" She didn't understand how Bai Lian could be so entitled when she was merely living in a slum that hadn't been developed yet, one that still used well water. "I see." Chen Zhu nodded, uninterested, and didn't ask any further. The car drove on for a while when another black car slowly approached. Chen Zhu, who had been sitting relaxed, straightened up, his gaze fixed on the rearview mirror, watching the black car grow more distant, until it disappeared. As dusk approached, the black car that vanished in the rearview mirror seemed to grow more mysterious. In the back seat, Ren Wongshuan had temporarily forgotten about Bai Lian, watching the direction the black car had disappeared in, and asked softly, "Was that the people my grandfather mentioned?" Although in her final year of high school and focused on her studies, it didn't mean she wasn't aware of other matters. She knew about the recent changes in Xiangcheng. They had always thought that the manor behind them, which had been vacant, belonged to the government. Now that it had been occupied, the major families of Xiangcheng had all received a clear message not to disturb it. Chen Zhu only casually said, "I've never seen that make of car." The one who came to pick up Bai Lian was Ming Dingheng. Bai Lian had been memorizing words all the way, and when she arrived at the entrance of the manor, she saw Jiang He squatting at the door, eagerly waiting. The man in the gray suit waiting in the garden, seeing the carefree and lazy girl behind Jiang He, was quite surprised. Then, he watched as Jiang He walked to the adjacent laboratory, adeptly keyed in the password, and entered. "Mr. Ming, who is that?" The man turned to Ming Dingheng, inquiring about the girl's identity. Despite his many years in Jiangjing, he had never heard of such a person. Ming Dingheng only warned, "Don't overstep." Chen Wei felt a chill down his back and remembered who resided in this place, no longer daring to ask any more. He secretly committed to memory the fleeting glimpse of the girl's face. With that striking face, he definitely wouldn't forget her if he saw her again. The laboratory. Most of the devices there were unfamiliar to Bai Lian, and Jiang He took her to a small table to show her a miniature perpetual motion machine on it. A metal sphere the size of a soybean slid down through the hole on the top layer into a track, then bounced back up. Both squatted on the spot, staring intently at it for 10 minutes. According to the law of conservation of energy, Bai Lian concluded, this is a fake perpetual motion machine. As she spoke, she flipped over the base and indeed saw magnets underneath. Jiang He nodded, and then secretly told Bai Lian, "Uncle Ming has always thought it was a perpetual motion machine." There were many instruments in the laboratory, but Bai Lian and Jiang He only looked at the toroidal collider. Jiang He squatted on one side and tried several times with Bai Lian, continuously adding fluid. Bai Lian always recorded the data. She and Jiang He finally succeeded once, and after glancing at the numbers on both sides, she recorded more data on paper. After she finished, Jiang He leaned on the table and looked at the vortex machine. "How come it still isn't broken?" Bai Lian set the paper aside, tilted her head to look, and found it hard to disagree. Outside, when Jiang Fulai returned, it was already dark. Young Master Jiang, Chief Chen followed him into the house respectfully. Jiang Fulai took off his coat and with a quick glance, noticed a black backpack, a mobile phone, and a rose on the rosewood table. "Ming Dingheng, those are Miss Bai's belongings." Jiang Fulai hummed calmly, his long eyelashes drooping slightly, shading the excessively cold look in his eyes. "Are they still in the laboratory?" Like this, there should be many lining up at school to give her flowers. What are high school seniors doing not studying properly, giving roses to others? Truly not reserved. Young Master Jiang gave his polite assessment. "Have them come out to eat," Jiang Fulai instructed, his facial expression uninvolved. When Bai Lian came out, Jiang Fulai was speaking with Chief Chen. Chief Chen clearly appeared somewhat restrained, his hands resting on his knees as he sat with his legs together. It must be personal revenge, this side of Xiangcheng. He caught sight of Bai Lian entering from outside, paused, and didn't know whether to continue. Jiang Fulai tapped his fingertips lazily on the table, glanced at him. "Continue." "Oh," Chief Chen quickly resumed, "I came here to tidy up the security. Poison Scorpion is my top priority, but the day I arrived, someone sought revenge on him." Ming Dingheng couldn't resist commenting expressionlessly, "Such a coincidence. You sure you didn't have a hand in it?" "How could I?" Chief Chen was quite agitated. "If I had that ability, would I need to be sent here for further training?" Ming Dingheng suddenly understood. "Chief Chen, ever since ancient times, Xiangcheng has always had difficult problems. This time Jiang Fulai came to Xiangcheng. Jiangjing decided to give Xiangcheng a thorough cleanup. Chen Zhu was a relatively outstanding descendant of the Jiangjing Chen family, and he secured the opportunity to come to Xiangcheng out of a host of people. In ancient times, he would have been a special envoy with an imperial mandate. Make a mark here with political achievements, and return to be promoted and advance in ranks. But right after his arrival, someone conveniently handed him a merit. Chief Chen really felt Xiangcheng was his lucky place. No suspects. Jiang Fulai rolled up his sleeves twice, casually poured 2 cups of tea, and pushed one each to Bai Lian and Jiang He. Jiang He stared at the cup as if it were poisoned. Chief Chen spoke with a serious expression. There's one, the boss of Purist Street number 112. I've already deployed extra personnel to keep watch over him. Is there no mistake? Ming Dingheng remembered Purist Street and expressed doubt. Could it be that he's not in trouble for messing with Dawson's cake or offending the mercenary mafia? Don't know, but I have top-secret information. Chief Chen lowered his voice. It's said that Poison Scorpion took 2 cigarettes from the boss. Although he found it ridiculous, Zhang Cheng had listed a pile of evidence. Otherwise, how could the boss have his cigarettes taken in the evening and be destroyed the same night? At the side, Bai Lian held her teacup and took a light sip. Genuine old Banjiang tea, her eyes brightened slightly. Upon hearing the voice, she put down the teacup, lowered her dark eyes, her jade-like fingers touching the edge of the rosewood table, her expression lazily concurring with Chief Chen. That man is really bad. Only then did Chief Chen dare to look at her. The young lady didn't seem to be much of a presence, and Chief Chen softened his tone, comforting her with a kind voice. Don't worry, the bad guy has already received some punishment. Don't be afraid. That's good, Bai Lian finished her tea. She picked up her backpack and bid farewell to Jiang Fulai and the others. Jiang He tugged at her sleeve. Bai Lian's eyes drooped lightly, and she gave him a sideways glance. I'm going home to have dinner with my grandfather. A few streets away at the Ren family's. The Ren family and a group of people from the Chen family waited properly. Chief Chen, when can he arrive? Ren Kaiyan looked at the middle-aged man beside him. Though anxious, he remained very polite to Chief Chen. The man referred to as Chief Chen was Chen Gang of the GDP powerhouse Chen family from Xiangcheng. He was eyeing his watch. He should be arriving soon. As he was speaking, someone from outside came in with happy news. Chen Lord has arrived. Ren Kaiyan and Chen Gang both stood up swiftly to welcome the guest at the entrance. Ren Wangshuan and Chen Zhu also got up, exchanging glances. Chen Lord, Chen Gang, accompanied by Ren Kaiyan, respectfully ushered the person in, and then introduced Ren Kaiyan. This is Xiangcheng's current highest administrator, the elderly Mr. Ren Kaiyan. If Bai Lian were here, she would recognize this man as the Chief Chen she had just met. Director Chen casually took a seat by the dining table. He was likely in his 30s or 40s, with a stern expression that rarely broke into a smile. Resting one hand on the table, he looked toward Ren Kaiyan. Mr. Ren, I'm afraid I'll be imposing on you with my visit this time. Please do take good care of me. How could I dare? Ren Kaiyan, also a sly fox, responded with a smile, his demeanor perfectly pitched. It's our Ren family that's honored by your presence. Although he smiled, Ren Kaiyan's heart was truly shocked. There had long been rumors in Xiangcheng that Chen family was a side branch of that Chen family in Jiangjing, but Ren Kaiyan had his doubts. Not until recently, when a secret order suddenly descended on Xiangcheng. A certain Director Chen would be sent from Jiangjing to oversee Xiangcheng. The sudden deployment left Ren Kaiyan at a loss, until Chen Gang arrived with the news of Director Chen's arrival. I heard that there's an authentic piece by Liang Ziyuan at the auction house. Director Chen took the wine Ren Kaiyan poured for him and said indifferently. This was another task given to Director Chen by the Chen family in Jiangjing. Indeed, but the auction house issued a notice in the past few days, Ren Kaiyan explained. Rumors suggest the handwriting may not be his own. Director Chen frowned. Ren Kaiyan felt a flutter of anxiety. However, it is indeed authentic. It appears to be notes from one of his disciples. The auction house has already engaged an appraisal expert. The appraisal is still ongoing, so the auction has been postponed by 5 days. Really? Director Chen sat up straight. The appraisal is still underway. Beside him, Chen Gang quickly added, I will keep a close eye on this matter. As everyone knows, Liang Ziyuan, the illustrious prime minister from ancient times, in his life took only 2 disciples besides Emperor Jiang Wen, and they were the exceptionally talented siblings from the Bai family. Emperor Jiang Wen naturally wouldn't use the same handwriting as Elder Liang. Thus, if it was someone else's, it could only be one of the siblings from the Bai family. It seems that not all unofficial histories are groundless. The Chen family in Jiangjing, untouchable and revered through the ages, has always been a staunch fan of the Bai family. The majority of the private museum's collection belongs to the Bai family. And generation after generation, the Chen family reverently enshrines the Bai family's ancestral tablets. For the Chen family, this was more attractive than an authentic piece by Liang Ziyuan. Ren Kaiyan only exchanged a glance with the Secretary-General. Clearly, they had to find a way to get an invitation to the White Tiger auction house. Meanwhile, Ming Dingheng watched with unease as the bus wobbled away. He was tempted to follow the bus in his car, but Bai Lian wouldn't allow it. He had no choice but to wait for her to get on the bus before driving back to the manor. Zhang Fulai was dining with Jiang He at the table, both of them speaking seldom, as they always did during meals. Silence and tranquility reigned. Ming Dingheng sat down and began to eat slowly as well. Setting his bowl down, Zhang Fulai suddenly remembered something. Who sent over the tea? Everything delivered here was hand-picked by Su Nanjing. Ming Dingheng swallowed a mouthful of food. Su Nanjing. Zhang Fulai drew a disinfectant tissue, meticulously wiped his hands clean while looking at his lap, his tone casual. From now on, everything follows this standard. Ming Dingheng nodded. Zhang Fulai stood up, taking the documents on the table with him to the laboratory. The experiment on dark matter had a long schedule, and he had recreated his Jiangjing laboratory in Xiangcheng in its entirety, which is why there was a corner reserved for Jiang He's stuff. A table no taller than 70 centimeters. A stool merely 20 centimeters high. Even the experimental apparatus were a size smaller. Zhang Fulai walked up to the long laboratory bench, about to place his own documents down, when he caught sight of a piece of paper not far away. His laboratory was always clean and tidy. This paper must have been left by the other 2. He approached, casually picking up the paper. There were 7 sets of data from top to bottom. He was initially just curious about what the other 2 had been up to until his eyes fell on the 4th set. He froze. A few digits were written casually. They flowed from the hand as if in one breath, the strokes revealing a hidden sharpness. Zhang Fulai stared at the characters for a moment before continuing to look at the data. If the first 3 sets of data were chaotic, a pattern could be discerned starting from the 4th set. Zhang Fulai immediately recognized it as data from vortex ring collisions. He wasn't very interested in fluid dynamics, so he scanned the data quickly and then took out his phone to take a picture. He sent it to someone. Member of the Ma Institute. I need to calculate 5,000 Gaussian Bose samples. I don't have time. Member of the Ma Institute. Of course, if you're willing to switch to quantum mechanics, I think I might find some time. Clearly, the other party didn't look at the content carefully. The reply was quite heartless. Zhang Fulai was not in a hurry. 10 minutes later, the phone rang. Zhang Fulai's eyes were faint. He wore half-frame glasses on the bridge of his nose, and there were no chairs for resting in the lab, nor was the experimental table suitable for sitting operations. He leaned on the desk with one hand, while the other held a mouse, bending over to carefully plot the mass and interaction graph of WIMPs. He didn't answer. The phone stopped for a while, then ringed again quickly. Jiang Fulai reached out, picked up the phone and pressed the answer button. I had a feeling they were up to no good and trusting the kid to you. You're barely self-sufficient. How are you going to care for Jiang He? Came the voice of the member of the Ma Institute, with his teammates discussing something in the background. He was always direct with Jiang Fulai and after a brief pause suggested, "How about this? You hand Jiang He over to me, and I'll raise him on your behalf." The member of the Ma Institute knew who was with Jiang Fulai, so he guessed that the data came from Jiang He. It's a set of data Jiang He and his friend worked on. They are very sensitive to data, Jiang Fulai said with a slight droop in his phoenix eyes. His depth in fluid dynamics wasn't profound. But a person's talent and spirit can't be hidden. Therefore, he did not think Jiang He and Bai Lian had a superficial understanding of physics. After all, even the mathematical genius Maxwell faced indifference when he shifted to physics, trying to study electricity and magnetism, and the physical giants of that era did not care about Maxwell either. On the phone, Jiangjing University. The member of the Ma Institute hung up, holding onto the data and thinking about it as he left the office. While going downstairs, he instructed his assistant, "We're aiming to match the school in Xiangcheng this year, right? Help me look someone up." The assistant noted it down in the schedule. Almost everyone in the school knew the member of the Ma Institute. Upon seeing him leave the office, a boy passing by the lab building couldn't help his excitement and took a photo, then grabbing his friend's arm, unable to contain himself. "Xiao Qi, that's the member of the Ma Institute. Did you see? Did you see? My teacher once had the privilege of being in his team." Bai Lian had just gotten off the bus when she saw Mao Kun squatting at the bus stop waiting for her. Upon seeing her, Mao Kun immediately stomped out his cigarette. Then he picked up the cigarette butt and threw it into the trash can. "Sis," Mao Kun offered her an invitation with eager courtesy. "Sis, this is an invitation from the White Tiger Auction House." "I'm not going." "Godfather said it's yours once he gives it to you. You can sell it if you don't want it." Mao Kun scratched his head. "It's going for a good price on the black market right now." "Then you help me put it up on the black market." Bai Lian reached out, took the red invitation with a white tiger printed on its cover, and casually put it into her backpack. "Okay, sis." The two of them went to a convenience store one after another. Bai Lian grabbed a bottle of water, scanned the QR code to pay, and then went back. Whereas Mao Kun, seeing that Bai Lian called the store owner uncle, caught on quickly, bought a pack of cigarettes, and also helped the owner move the piled goods back into the store. Someone watching from the shadows took note with a solemn expression, marking the store owner's name with a star. Bai Lian had a pleasant time reading and studying in the library with Jiang He on Saturday. Sunday, Jiang He sat listlessly alone on the carpet. He fiddled with a Rubik's Cube in his hand slowly. Jiang Fulai came downstairs, fastening the buttons at his collar with one hand, holding his laptop in the other, and walked slowly over to Jiang He. Looking down, his posture was somewhat lazy. His voice, however, was calm. "Not changed clothes." Normally, Jiang He would have been heading to the library that day. Jiang He ignored him. Jiang Fulai finished buttoning up, placed his laptop on the table beside him, and asked calmly, "Do you know when my vortex ring machine might break down?" "Sister Bai has gone to Baiking to transfer her hukou." Jiang He looked up and spoke slowly. "Baiking." Jiang Fulai nodded. He then reached out, took the Rubik's Cube from Jiang He's hands, which was twisted halfway through difficulty, quickly solved it, and handed it back to Jiang He. "So clumsy," he said politely, then put on his mask, picked up his laptop, and left. Ming Dinghang stood in place, his face expressionless as he watched. Jiang He. He frustratedly scrambled the Rubik's Cube again, opened his watch, and sent a message to Bai Lian. Text. Bai Lian had already boarded the train, and her household registration transfer certificate for Xiang Cheng had been processed. The certificate for moving out still needed to be arranged in Baiking. Baiking was far away, and Xiang Cheng only had a train service, so a round trip took a whole day. As household registration had to be done on a workday, she went a day early and planned to return directly after getting the certificate the next morning. Jai Shaojun went with her, and the two of them sat together. The train ride was nearly 12 hours long, and Bai Lian had brought a physics question bank in advance. She buried herself in the questions as soon as she got on the train. A middle-aged couple and an elderly person sat opposite them, who, upon seeing Bai Lian working on her problems, spoke in hushed tones and deliberately lowered their voice when occasionally conversing with Jai Shaojun. Jai Shaojun watched as the three passengers opposite handed Bai Lian a bunch of fruit and some biscuits. Then he looked at the focused Bai Lian solving problems. During the 12-hour train ride, even Jai Shaojun couldn't help feeling a sore back and stiff waist. He had thought that being pampered from an early age, Bai Lian would find it more difficult to endure, but to his surprise, she remained upright and attentive, maintaining her studying posture throughout the journey. The train's signal was poor, and Bai Lian was concentrating on her questions. By the time she saw Jiang He's message, it had already been 2 hours. Illiterate text. By Jian, I've seen it. By Jian, image. Jiang He opened it and looked, knowing the result but not the principle. He then forwarded it to Jiang Fulai. Jiang Fulai was still in the underground laboratory, holding a tablet and returning to the computer, its fluorescent light reflecting his expressionless face, cold and piercing. The group of trainees beside him tried their best to pretend to be busy, not daring to look at him. An assistant entered through the glass door with a document in hand and said, "Young Master Jiang." Jiang Fulai's gaze didn't shift. After briefly pointing out an experimenter's data beside him, he took the document from the assistant and casually flipped through it. "This is an invitation from the Gao family," the assistant reminded. Gao Jiachin was a carefully cultivated plant by the Gao family and the Jiang family. But after this incident, they had been busy managing the fallout and finally sent this invitation to Jiang Fulai as an apology. Upon hearing this, Jiang Fulai turned his hand, calmly handing back the invitation to the assistant. The message was clear. His phone rang, and Jiang Fulai gestured for the assistant to leave. Then he checked the message from Jiang He, opening the image. It was a complex question with a few formulas listed on the side. The handwriting looked neat and clean, slightly different from what he had seen the night before. However, he could guess who had written it, and being too lazy to type, he sent a 52-second voice explanation to Jiang He. Jiang He sent a comma. Jiang Fulai followed up with 47. Jiang He. Jiang Fulai 60. Jiang Fulai 60. Jiang He, you know the teacher's microphone was on, right? Out of patience, Jiang Fulai coldly typed 2 characters, add group. Jiang He, okay. On the other side of the phone, Ming Dingheng watched with an expressionless face as the well-known genius Jiang He got scolded by young Master Jiang for 2 minutes, thinking to himself, luckily he doesn't study physics. Bai Lian and Jai Shaojun arrived in Baiking after 10 o'clock at night. The two stayed at a hotel not far from the Public Security Bureau. It was only after washing up for the night that Bai Lian discovered that Jiang He had added them to a 3-person group. Jiang Fulai sent a detailed process diagram, and Bai Lian sat at the small square table to study it carefully. She politely sent a thank you and then asked another question. Jiang Fulai, 37. Jiang Fulai, 29. Bai Lian opened each one to listen. Physics definitely requires understanding the theorems and repeatedly deriving all formulas. To learn physics, don't look up to it. You should stand on the mountaintop and look down upon it. Every seemingly unrelated phenomenon in nature, when slowly deduced, you'll find that they all share a common cause. After you understand all the theorems and formula derivations in that university physics book, explain them to someone else in your own words until they can understand. Try this tomorrow by explaining absolute zero to your grandfather until he understands. Once you grasp the principle behind each phenomenon, you'll find all the problems quite simple. The other person must have been quite busy today, still in the underground laboratory, with a clear, deep voice. Deliberately slowed down with a faint, slight echo. Bai Lian listened twice. So the next day, at 6 in the morning, Jai Heng had just gotten out of bed when he received a call from Bai Lian. Bai Lian, and that 10%, Grandpa, did you understand? Jai Heng wasn't fully awake yet, only hearing something about molecules and immobility. He got dressed, didn't understand, but responded with a calm Then would you repeat it for me? Jai Heng. 15 minutes later. Finally, Bai Lian heard the correct answer from Jai Heng's mouth and hung up satisfied. The Feynman technique that young Master Jiang taught her might end up making Jai Heng the biggest victim. The process of applying for a household registration transfer certificate wasn't complicated, and since they went early, it took less than half an hour to finish. With the train at 10-something, Jai Shaojun took the opportunity to visit a nearby mall. While Jai Shaojun shopped, Bai Lian queued in the adjacent milk tea shop to buy tea and wait for him. What Madame Song saw as she passed by was this scene. The tall girl dressed in simple white clothes and black pants, the white garment without embellishment save for a few poppies at the neckline, which rendered it exquisitely simple. She held a fruit tea in one hand, leaning casually against a column at the entrance of the mall. Countless passers-by turned their heads. "You're back in Baiking." Madame Song got out of the car, the driver following behind her. Her eyebrows and eyes were warm, and her tone bore a bit of surprise. Bai Lian bit her straw and looked up. She thought for 10 seconds before she could recall who the woman was from the original owner's memory. It was her, Song Min's mother. "Auntie Song," Bai Lian spoke up. This person was more pleasing to the eye than Song Min, so Bai Lian politely explained that she was back to process her household registration transfer. "Bai Lian, listen to me," said Madame Song with a serious demeanor after hearing her out, looking at Bai Lian. "I know you think your father is unfair and you don't like Shaoqi and the others. I can understand all of this. But after all, you're a family. You can't be childish. To be honest, Shaoqi is smarter than most of the young nobles I've seen in Jiangjing. Your father's favor is not without reason. Besides, you need to understand that in the future, the Bai family will definitely be centered around Shaoqi. His prospects, I dare say, are absolutely clear. You should look to the long term. Staying with the Bai family for protection will give you the best development." Madame Song's maternal family was from Jiangjing, hence her extensive knowledge about it. She felt a subtle pity for Bai Lian, and thus offered this piece of advice. Some things she left unsaid. For instance, she knew about the incident with the Bai's written pledge and that Bai Lian and Bai Shaoqi were at odds because of her son. But she thought that now was not the right time for Bai Lian to hold a grudge against Bai Shaoqi. Instead, it was most important to maintain a good relationship with her. Bai Lian listened carefully. She finished her last sip of fruit tea, crushed the bottle. "I've never thought of relying on the Bai family." "What?" Madame Song was taken aback. The driver behind her glanced at Bai Lian. He naturally recognized the young miss of the Bai family, who often came to the Songs to find Song Min. On hearing this, he sneered internally. "Not rely on the Bai family. What else could you rely on? Your trivial youthful pride? Or the confidence from being expelled by Baikeng High School? Auntie Song, goodbye. Bai Lian saw Jai Shaojun come out and politely bid farewell to Mrs. Song. Mrs. Song stood at the door, watching Bai Lian and the other person leave. She returned to her car, took out her mobile phone, and after a long while, finally dialed a number. The call was answered quickly, Mrs. Song. It was Bai Kaiming. Mrs. Song instructed the driver to start the car. Mr. Bai, I just saw Alien. She came to Baikeng to register her residence on the 10:35 train. Once she returns, she will no longer be part of the Bai family. She's just a child in temperament. Would you want the butler to pick her up first? On the other end of the phone, Bai Kaiming put down his pen. He looked out of the window. It had been nearly 10 days since the butler reported Bai Lian's departure, and he had not heard from Bai Lian since then. In the end, Bai Lian had taken the apprenticeship token with her, a trait quite like her mother's. She would rather ruin it than give anyone else an advantage. In fact, over the 10 days, half of Bai Kaiming's anger had dissipated. But, thank you, Mrs. Song, for informing me of this matter. Bai Kaiming retracted his gaze. But Bai Lian is already 18. She can decide for herself whether to stay or leave. After speaking, he hung up the phone. The Bai family was large. Supporting one more Bai Lian was not difficult. But Bai Kaiming was also aware of the conflict between Bai Lian and Bai Shaojun. If Bai Lian, who had taken the apprenticeship token, were to be brought back now, Bai Shaojun would inevitably feel uncomfortable. Bai Kaiming was thinking long-term. Now that Bai Shaojun's future looked bright, he couldn't afford to lose the watermelon for the sake of a sesame seed like Bai Lian. So he could only act as if he hadn't received Mrs. Song's call. Today was also when he made a choice between Bai Lian and Bai Shaojun, but obviously, there was no need to choose at all. The Bai family. The grand elder, the highest in seniority at the family ancestral home, took some interest in the matter. Find an auspicious time tomorrow and remove her name. Remove it tomorrow. Of course, the grand elder pondered briefly. Make sure to let Shaojun and Shaojun know. Erasing Bai Lian's name was a minor matter. What mattered was to show her siblings the Bai family's stance. Making a simple mark to erase a name was, after all, nothing noteworthy to them. Elsewhere, although Mrs. Song had anticipated it, she still sighed softly upon hearing Bai Kaiming's words. She had phoned Bai Kaiming not only to inform him of Bai Lian's whereabouts, but also to see what Bai Kaiming would decide. Mrs. Song took out her mobile phone, thinking that Song Min should be in class by now, and just sent a WeChat message. Come home early tonight, I have something to tell you. Song Min usually stayed with Bai Shaojun at the library to discuss the challenging problems of the Jiangjing preparatory camp. But when Mrs. Song wanted to see him, he would come straight home after school. When he returned, Mrs. Song, pruning her flowers, slowly began. I wanted to talk to you about Bai Lian. Song Min, looking indifferent, showed no change of expression upon hearing this name. Her. Yes, Mrs. Song's voice was gentle. She has officially been removed from the Bai family register. There's the engagement arranged since childhood between you and her. If you have no objections, we'll find a time to speak with the Bai family and then clarify things with Bai Lian. How about that? Song Min didn't even think about it. Whatever. Mrs. Song didn't have much of an opinion about Bai Lian. Bai Lian was good-looking. She had watched Bai Lian grow up since she was a child and had some fondness for her. But that was all. Compared to Bai Shaojun and Bai Shaojun, this fondness seemed insignificant. Mrs. Song snipped off an excess branch. Shaking her head, she thought that Bai Lian was still too young and impetuous, not understanding what was truly important. On the train, Bai Lian was also in a very good mood. Not only did she transfer her residence, but she also resolved the matter with Song Min. She was well aware that Mrs. Song had specifically stepped off the train to inquire about something. Jai Shaojun, however, was extremely silent throughout the journey. He had thought that accompanying Bai Lian would mean encountering the Bai family, and hoped that if the Bai family wanted Bai Lian to return, he could help negotiate terms with them. But unexpectedly, the Bai family never made an appearance from beginning to end. It was nearing 11 at night. The train finally arrived at Xiancheng Station. At this time, the buses had already stopped running, and even taxis were scarce near the station. The two of them exited the station and were about to look for a taxi on the roadside when, upon exiting, Bai Lian saw Jiang He squatting by the road, staring at a tree. "Why are you here?" Bai Lian approached him and then introduced him to Jai Shaojun. "This is the first friend I met when I came to Xiancheng. Waiting for you. My brother hasn't come back yet." Jiang He looked up, somewhat blankly. "Hello, uncle." Jai Shaojun saw this elegant-looking kid and wasn't quite sure how to start a conversation, but unexpectedly the other party greeted him nicely. He was somewhat at a loss for what to do, so he just stuffed all the snacks he had collected for Bai Lian into Jiang He's hands. Ming Dingheng stood coolly on the side. After sending Bai Lian and Jai Shaojun back to Purist Street, Jiang He still clung to Bai Lian's hem without letting go. Ming Dingheng was used to it. Jiang He's behavior was always quirky. He reported to Jiang Fulai. Jiang He received a message on his watch and finally let go of Bai Lian's hem. By the time Jiang Fulai arrived, Bai Lian had already left. He had just come out of the lab and hadn't changed his clothes, lethargically reaching out to knock on Jiang He's car window. Jiang He held grudges and ignored him. Still lying on the car window, Jiang Fulai was calm. "I saw an MTS report last time. It said that kids who stay up late don't grow tall." Jiang He, not even as tall as Jiang Fulai's waist, suddenly looked up. "Are you tired?" "I'm not tired." Jiang Fulai glanced at him casually and sincerely asked. "You shouldn't be tired either, right?" "Oh, of course not." Jiang He started talking to himself. "I mean, Uncle Ming must be tired, so if he's tired then we can go back now and let him sleep first." Ming Dingheng said expressionlessly, "Yes, young master, I'm very tired right now." Xiancheng Middle School. Bai Lian rushed to catch the train on Monday, and after explaining the kinetic energy theorem once again to Jai Heng on Tuesday morning, she came to school. "Desk mate." Bai Lian twirled her pen as she turned her head to look at Yang Lin. "Can you lend me your biology notebook?" The black pen spun agilely around her fair and slender fingertips. Yang Lin was the class study representative. Her hair was black and long and her skin extremely pale, covering most of her face and neck. She wore the school uniform, long sleeves and pants, every day and seldom spoke to others. She just reached into the desk and pulled out 2 biology notebooks to give to Bai Lian. Bai Lian took them, flipped through them, and saw that the notes were very clear and clean. Inside one of them, she saw a realistic drawing of an alley lined with fresh flowers on both sides. The style of this realistic drawing was very similar to that of Jai Heng and Jai Shaojun. It seemed to be a few years old, but was well preserved. Bai Lian took it out and gave it back to Yang Lin. Her dark eyes reflecting Yang Lin's face, she sincerely praised, "It's very pretty." Yang Lin was stunned for a moment, then took it back. After quite a while, Bai Lian heard her softly him in response. The first class in the morning was Chinese. When Bai Lian's classmate behind her, Zhang Shi's, arrived, Lu Lingxi had already finished analyzing an ancient poem. "Report." Zhang Shi's ran to the entrance of the class, not even having had the time to zip up his school jacket. Lu Lingxi stood by the lectern, one hand resting on it, looking at Zhang Shi's and with the other hand pointing at the clock on the wall. Zhang Shi's, It's already our senior year, and yet you're still so lax. Class starts at 8. Look, open your eyes wide and see what time it is now. Zhang Shi's looked at the clock hanging on the wall behind him, his expression serious. 7:70. Lu Lengxi. The classmates suddenly burst into laughter energetically. Lu Lingxi was also beside herself with a mixture of laughter and exasperation, scolding with a smile. Get in here. Zhang Shi's touched his nose dejectedly and returned to his seat. Last night he stayed up late squatting to snatch Yan Lu's photo book, so he got up late this morning. Seeing that his mother was still angry with his father, he helped his mother cut some flower branches until he realized he was going to be late. The class finished quickly. Lu Lingxi called Bai Lian to the office separately. I saw you getting along well with Yang Lin this morning. Lu Lingxi handed a box of band-aids to Bai Lian and said softly, could you give this to her? She has a wound on the left side of her forehead. Bai Lian reached out to take it, tossing it in her hand with a cheeky smile in her eye. Got it, but I can't promise anything. She was wearing the brand new school jacket she had just received today, her hair still tied up at the back of her head with a hairpin, and her prepossessing brows and eyes drooped as she looked quite well behaved. The blue and white school uniform didn't look bulky on her at all. Slack and casual. It's all right, you try it, Lu Lingxi sighed, remembering something important. Also, there's a training program for top students. It's every day after school until 8 in the evening, featuring exercises from Jiangjing University's affiliated schools. Lu Lingxi wasn't too clear on the specifics. The principal had called her on Sunday to ask if there was a transfer student named Bai Lian in her class, and just like that, it was settled. In any case, attending the training wasn't a bad thing. Okay, Bai Lian put the band-aid back into the pocket of her school uniform. Returning to her seat, Bai Lian looked at Yang Lin, who was hunched over doing homework, and initiated conversation. Desk mate. Yang Lin lifted her head slightly. Bai Lian quickly tore open a band-aid, lifted Yang Lin's hair, and accurately stuck it on before letting her hair fall back over it. The whole movement was smooth and fluid. It took a while for Yang Lin to realize what had happened. Bai Lian thought lazily, proving that sometimes it's not good to be too polite. Lu Lingxi was so polite she couldn't even give things away. The training class for top students was held in the auditorium of the comprehensive building. With only about a dozen participants, there was less than one person per class. By the time Bai Lian arrived, most of the students were already there. To the front left, a circle of people sat around Chen Zhu as their center. On the right there were a few scattered boys, with Enning Zio, Zhang Shi's desk mate, also sitting there. Bai Lian walked to the right and found an empty spot to sit down. Although she had only transferred a few days ago, she was already quite famous at the school and her presence was all over the forums. Someone noticed her as soon as she arrived. It's Bai Lian. Ren Wongshuan, sitting to the left of Chen Zhu with a boy behind her, was surprised. That transfer student, huh? Damn, is her academic performance actually that good? The school was rife with rumors about Bai Lian being a top student, because she was always seen reading books or solving problems. But no one had expected her to show up for this training class. As Ren Wongshuan was working through the test papers distributed in the training class, she caught Bai Lian's name from the surrounding discussion and momentarily wondered if she had heard wrong. Who did you say? She asked. There, the girl in front of Ren Wongshuan, Shi Yudong, her chief lackey, gestured with her chin toward the right. Her Bai Lian, the pretty transfer student. Ren Wongshuan glanced over reflexively and saw Bai Lian settling into her seat not far away, her school jacket casually slung aside, with eyes as lazy as a beautiful cat's. Murmurs about Bai Lian buzzed around her. It seemed she was the center of attention. The discussions invariably revolved around Bai Lian, daring to transfer in senior year like that, and joining our training class within a few days of arriving at school. She can't possibly be as freakish in her studies as Chen Zhu and Enning Zio, can she? The people here had known each other since first year when they started taking competition classes together in Xiancheng. They were all very familiar with each other. Hearing his name linked with Enning Zio's, Chen Zhu looked up. Chen Zhu was the pride of the Chen family's generation. Unlike Chen Wei, he always kept away from trouble at school, focusing solely on his studies and regularly competing with Enning Zio for the top spot in their grade. So, despite Enning Zio's gloomy and reserved demeanor, avoiding interaction and rather reclusive, Chen Zhu recognized his name. There were whispers that someone had scores close to Enning Zio in the combined sciences. For the first time he spoke up, "What transfer student?" Seeing Chen Zhu asking, Shi Yudong hurriedly glanced his way, half in admiration as she began. "That's Bai Lian. To be in this program, her grades." Her grades, with people all around discussing Bai Lian and even Chen Zhu asking about her, Ren Wongshuan cut in. She scoffed, almost mockingly looking away. The others immediately sensed something unusual as the boy behind pressed, "Ren, do you know her?" Most people turned to look her way. On the first term exam, her combined sciences score was 85. Ren Wongshuan picked up her pen again, the tone almost scornful. As for why she's here, she almost didn't even have to think about why. The school must have learned Bai Lian was a relative of the Ren family. Ren Wongshuan kept a cold face, but she said nothing more. Inwardly, however, she was immensely irritable. Chen Zhu at her side had caught on, having not recognized Bai Lian earlier. But now, upon hearing Ren Wongshuan mention her, he recalled the person he had seen on the street that night. Some relative of the Ren family, though he didn't know exactly what their connection was. If Bai Lian had joined the training class because of the Ren family, it wouldn't be much of a surprise. He nodded and continued to focus on his practice questions. The others looked at each other in confusion. Every person in the training class knew what this class was for. An app-reserved slot for Jiangjing University. Every person in this room was truly talented. The initial test for math was extremely difficult, yet the comprehensive science was just giveaway points, with several sitting here who had scored full marks in it. Putting aside 85 points here was almost unheard of in the whole school. 85, Shi Yudong raised her voice. Then how did she get in here? She had good grades, and because of her family situation, she had learned to network from a young age, grouping together with others in school and looking down on the ordinary students. With such a score, Bai Lian's presence here clearly highlighted her as a connection-based attendee. However, Shi Yudong wasn't overly concerned, for even if Bai Lian had pulled strings to get in, could she really be more influential than the Chen or Ren families? A few who had wanted to add Bai Lian on WeChat now forcefully restrained themselves from doing so. Why is it so quiet today? The substitute teacher was the homeroom teacher of Class 8, Grade 3, and also the head of the physical science department. Wearing glasses, he turned on the projector to start the lesson for the class, smiling warmly at these top students. As usual, everyone will watch a 1.5-hour lesson and do half an hour of practice questions. We'll finish at 8 o'clock. The lesson was a video recording from a famous teacher's competition class at a high school affiliated with Jiangjing. Math and physics were alternated. Today's lesson was on physics. After starting the video, the homeroom teacher also sat at the back with a pen and paper to watch along with the students. Today's physics lesson included electromagnetism and the theory of relativity. The video clearly explained everything from the special theory of relativity to electromagnetism. Bai Lian listened intently for the first time to the concept of time dilation. She found the concept frightening because it meant that the flow of time was different for everyone. The video ended promptly at 7:30 p.m. and the homeroom teacher distributed practice problems he had printed out. This is the question for today. You all can work on it. I'll collect it tomorrow evening, and it will be part of your regular evaluation. The auditorium quieted down to just the sound of pages being turned. After distributing the questions, the homeroom teacher, with his hands clasped behind his back, slowly walked over to Bai Lian and looked down at her. Like Lu Lingxi, he had received a call from the principal days before, but he knew more than Lu Lingxi did. The principal took special interest in this transfer student named Bai Lian and had instructed him and the math teacher to take good care of her. So upon his arrival today, he couldn't resist shifting his attention to Bai Lian. The questions printed by the training class were synchronized with the video and were very difficult, all originating from Jiangjing. In the past, he had always focused on Chen Zhu and Enning Xiao, but today he made an exception to watch Bai Lian. He was curious whether she could solve it. Bai Lian was unaware of the homeroom teacher's thoughts. She glanced at the question, then casually set the paper aside. She took out a book and slowly flipped through it. The homeroom teacher, who was waiting to see her solve the question, was puzzled. "Right, will you? Why aren't you writing? Student, do you have a problem with me?" He waited, undeterred, for 10 minutes. Realizing that the student had no intention of writing, he stood up, emotionless, ready to go home. It was clear that this student was quite rebellious. Normally, the last half hour was optional for students to stay, with substitute teachers typically leaving early. Suddenly, something occurred to him. Wait, the book Bai Lian had taken out was Physics at Jiangjing University. Physics at Jiangjing University wasn't for sale to the public. Only students from Jiangjing University's physics department had access to it. Getting into Jiangjing University was hard enough, let alone its top-ranked physics department. The homeroom teacher didn't even know anyone from the physics department at Jiangjing University. He walked out, contemplating in silence. He had to find a chance to deceive. No, to borrow the book from this student to take a look. Meanwhile, Bai Lian read her book while taking notes. She turned the pages gently. So annoying. In front of Ren Wangxuan, Shi Yudong coldly glanced towards Bai Lian and, seeing that Bai Lian had put her assigned problems aside and was just flipping through a book, couldn't help snapping. If you're not interested in studying seriously, can you at least not disturb others? Your constant page flipping, don't you find it bothersome? Surnamed Bai, Shi Yudong had searched all over Xiangcheng and couldn't find a family with the surname Bai. Her father is in the Department of Education and knows the students' files. While others at school don't know, she is crystal clear about it. Chen Zhu's Chen Wei's family is the richest in Xiangcheng, and Ren Wangxuan's family is even more incredible. Bai Lian still kept her head down slightly. The lights in the lecture hall were quite bright. She leaned casually against the back of her chair, one hand flipping through a book and the other holding a pen, occasionally making notes on the page. She paid no attention to Shi Yudong. Although Shi Yudong couldn't compare with Chen Wei or Ren Wangxuan, she wasn't invisible at school either, with good grades and a respectable family background. She couldn't let go of her dignity being snubbed like this. "Bai Lian, are you deaf?" "Ah," Bai Lian finally looked up, glancing at Shi Yudong as if she had just realized someone was calling her, a strand of black hair falling onto her cheek. "Are you hollering at me?" Her use of the word hollering made it seem like she was referring to the barking of a dog. Shi Yudong's face darkened. "You better stop flipping." "I insist on flipping." Bai Lian interrupted Shi Yudong, appearing like any other ordinary student, but her posture was upright, her arm casually resting on the table, yet when she turned to the side, her gaze was overwhelmingly haughty. She lazily flipped another page of her book and smiled at Shi Yudong. Why don't you call the police? Shi Yudong could swear she heard a few suppressed chuckles. Ren Wongshuan had experienced Bai Lian's sharp-wittedness before. She could not comprehend how someone who got into the tutoring class through the Ren family connections could be so confident. However, Ren Wongshuan didn't want more people at school to know about her relationship with Bai Lian, so she didn't clarify. She hoped that Bai Lian would have the self-awareness not to stick to her. Ren Wongshuan looked at Shi Yudong. Take a seat. Shi Yudong sat down. She glared at Bai Lian with a dark expression. She had never faced embarrassment in front of others, let alone by a transfer student whose background was a mystery. Half an hour quickly passed. One by one, those who couldn't solve the problem in the lecture hall stopped trying, packed up their things and went home. Ren Wongshuan looked at Chen Zhu beside her. Did you figure it out? Chen Zhu shook his head and then glanced at Eningzio's seat. Eningzio was preparing to leave, but it was unclear if he had solved it. Shall we go back? Ren Wongshuan hadn't found the correct answer either. Do you have news about the invitation? Chen Zhu was also putting away his pen, and upon hearing this, turned his head. Where did you get the news from? My gra. As Ren Wongshuan started to speak, she noticed Bai Lian was still there and dropped the subject, giving Chen Zhu and the others a look. Let's talk outside. She didn't want to discuss her grandfather and her family history in front of Bai Lian. The group packed up and left together. As they left through the front door, Ren Wongshuan noticed that the exercise paper on Bai Lian's desk was still spotless. She hadn't even attempted the first question. A cold sneer curled the corners of Ren Wongshuan's mouth. Do you have news of the White Tiger auction house invitation from your grandfather? With hardly anyone in the stairwell, Chen Zhu took the initiative to ask. There's no news from my dad's side. That's quite normal. Ren Wongshuan was not surprised. Not just anyone can get into the White Tiger auction house. The White Tiger auction house catered to an international audience. Zhang Cheng was insignificant to them, and if they wanted to get an invitation, they would have to resort to the black market. The two of them continued talking to themselves, while Shi Yudong and the rest were in the fog listening in. With only ordinary family backgrounds, they were somewhat informed about domestic affairs, but had never even heard of the White Tiger auction house. It wasn't until they parted ways at the door and watched the two drive off that they discussed quietly among themselves. Shi Yudong lowered her voice. I think I heard my dad mention it once, somewhere near our border. She didn't even dare to utter Baxter Street. That place where average people dare not casually enter. They say even passing dogs lose 3 layers of skin. It was after 8 in the evening. Zhang He was waiting for her at the school entrance. Ming Dingheng looked at Bai Lian apologetically, thinking she had a really good temper. Jiang Fulai was busy coming and going every day, with Jiang He mostly playing alone before waiting for Jiang Fulai to return. He was odd and had no other friends his age. Bai Lian was Jiang He's first friend, and she was even willing to take him out to play. Jiang He was very attached to Bai Lian. Bai Lian had already received Jiang He's message. She had told Jai Heng she wouldn't be coming home for dinner and took Jiang He to a milk tea shop nearby. What time is your brother coming back? The milk tea shop is closing at 9. Her desk mate had already left work and gone home. No need to close, Jiang He drawled. My brother bought the milk tea shop. As if he had just bought a big head of cabbage. The incorruptibly honest Bai family. Jiang Fulai came back early today. He also had dinner sent to the school. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like the video and comment down if anything wrong in the story. And if have any suggestion to a new novel or want next part of any series, comment down. Our target is to get 1K subscriber. There will be SUPRISC for all of you. Stay tuned.